wish I were baked on the bayou, rolling with some Cajun queen. Wishing I were a fat freight train of Dr. Juggling on down to New Orleans. Born on the bayou, born on the bayou, on the bayou. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Get back, buddy. I can remember the 4th of July, running through the backwood bay, and I can still hear my old hound dog barking, chasing down a hoodoo there, chasing down a hoodoo there. Born on the bayou, born on the bayou. Born on the bayou, all right.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Larsen Live. It is June 7th. My dog is absolutely losing her shit. How is everybody? Nothing is wrong with the pup per se. She just dearly misses her mother, the beautiful Daphne Howlick. And, yeah, I'm like the superfluous human. She's like, a bit down when I leave, but when the mother leaves, oh boy, it's just, shit hits the fan. Give me 1 second. Immediately after I start the show, I have to go see if I can calm this little pupper down. Anyway, let's hope this works. Yeah, so we opened up with Creedence Clearwater Revival's Born on the Bayou. One of the most authentic bayou-y songs ever written by people from the San Francisco Bay Area. There are no bayous in El Cerrito, California, sir, but you make it work. I assure you that John Fogerty has never once in his life used the word chugling, but here we are. Anyway, it was a very, very tight competition as to what song I would open up the stream with between either Born on the Bayou or Johnny Horton's The Battle of New Orleans. They're both quite relevant to the title story. Excuse me again, I have to calm down a small dog. I'm back. I'm back. Let's hope this doesn't be a recurring... Let's hope this won't be a recurring theme in the stream, even though we all know it probably will. Anyway, yeah. Hasn't even been 10 seconds and she's already screaming about something. Okay, so anyway... Yes. Excuse me, Caramel, my love. You need to calm down. Thanks. Yes, anyway. Yeah, let's just get to the title story. I can't believe my pirate ancestor may have been a bad person. Excuse me again. Okay, yeah, so anyway, from the New York Times' travel section, I don't even have my headphones in because I'm sure I'll be leaving another 5 seconds to attend to the dog. Anyway, yes, from the New York Times travel section, confronting history, family, and race on a road trip to New Orleans. I mean, I wouldn't expect the New York Times travel section to be about anything else, to be quite honest. Yes, this man was shocked to find out that he has a pirate ancestor in the wild and woolly days of, the old Southwest, New Orleans and, the Gulf of Mexico. And this pirate ancestor may have, in fact, been a bad person. Okay. So, Alexander Lobrano, from the New York Times, had an ancestor, Jacinto Lobrano. And he had an unsigned portrait of him hanging in his house for many, many years. Okay. I had heard family stories all my life about Jacinto Lobrano, my great-great-great-grandfather, a right-hand man of the famous pirate Jean Lafitte. During a 6-day trip along the Gulf Coast, I tested the truth of these family stories. Okay. Jacinto, who was born on the island of Procida in the Bay of Naples, sometimes during the late 1790s, is depicted as a stern but handsome man in his mid-40s, with wavy hair and a small gold earring in his ear. He presents as a prosperous, somewhat respectable family man. He was a pirate, a fact that I clung to growing up in a Connecticut suburb that pasteurized difference in defense of propriety. Although my ancestry is 95% Anglo, being even a tiny bit descended from a pirate made me different, maybe a little glamorous and potentially wild. As I learned, shockingly, the first time I read Jacinto's obituary when I was a freshman in college, he also profited from enslaving people. This shocked me, so I called my grandmother to learn more. She was vague, suggesting he had dabbled in the slave trade. Her temporizing did not soothe my revulsion, so I did what millions of other white Americans have done when they discovered this evil in their family's past. I dropped it into a well of denial. Then, 8 years ago, I got an Instagram message from a high school student in Mississippi. It seemed likely that we had ancestors in common. The pirate had 5 sons and 2 daughters, but I didn't know how. It didn't surprise me when I saw that Dakota was African American. Okay, sexual relations, often forced, were common between the races. And then it goes on and on behind the paywall, which I'm not going to pay for. I suppose I should know how to get like those proxies and VPNs and things to read the New York Times, but I don't feel like it. Anyway, boy, yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that my pirate ancestor was a bad person. I mean, the piracy and the raping and pillaging and whoring, that was okay, but the slavery, that's crossing a line, sir. Mr. Lobrano, I'm not entirely sure what you think a pirate does for a living, but I'll let you know a little secret. Pirates tend to be not very nice people, sir. And the fact that you were not aware of this, I think you are pretty damn dumb, sir. I can't believe that my pirate ancestor was a bad person. What did you think piracy was all about? Vibes, essays, earrings, and parrots? You know, sir, just because they wear ruffly shirts and earrings, pirates are not, in fact, flouncing gay boys who are all about modern values. 1 second again, I've got to deal with the crying baby. I am, in fact, very sorry for this constant jockeying back and forth between the stream and my, fuzzy baby, but it has to be done. Anyway, Thomas Boyce says, I'm one of the only black fans of CCR that I know besides this one neighbor I had, and his wife took him to see them live 4 times. That is very interesting, sir. Thomas Boyce then continues going on to say that people who feel guilty for what their ancestors did annoys me. Oh, absolutely. I question whether or not this person has benefited at all from Jacinto Lobrano's slave trade dabbling. Mainly the fact that I believe studies have been done showing that, pretty much nobody in modern America has a fortune that descends from, the antebellum South. I mean, there were rich people there who did profit immensely from the slave trade, but dare I say that wealth is gone with the wind, so to speak. That money is long gone. So I think we could all stop feeling guilty about it. Okay, let me see just instant if I can read the rest of this idiotic story. Okay, let's see. Okay, it seems I can. Okay, so yeah, it continues. I told Dakota I'd be happy to share what I knew, but I warned that it would obviously be ugly. I sent her everything I had, including the November 12, 1880 obituary of our forebear from the New Orleans Picayune newspaper. Okay, we became friendly. She graduated high school, the girl. She went to nursing school. Pause for laughter. I mean, I'm sure this girl is very nice, but, the American nursing profession is not exactly the greatest people in the world. Okay, let's see. The Lobrano family, Jacinto and his father, left Italy because they'd been involved in a plot against the government. Eventually, they ended up in the Gulf of Mexico, where Jacinto fell in with the French pirate Jean Lafitte. Jacinto was instrumental in persuading Lafitte to side with the Americans during the War of 1812. I mean, I think we should also give credit to Andrew Jackson for, swallowing his pride and working with, hellish bandits by his own words. Flexibility and compromise is not something that you find very common in, very, very angry, drunken, Ulster Protestants like himself. So, give it up to him for that. Okay, Jacinto fought so well during the battle that General Jackson gave him a silver sword. Yes. Okay, Jacinto lived in a large house at the corner of Laurel and 4th Street, engaged in many businesses, including buying and selling man flesh. Okay, here we go. Oh, also worth pointing out that Alexander Lobrano is openly gay. He gave no indication of this before he mentioned his husband Bruno from Sarasota. Again, I think, Alexander Lobrano might be a certain type of pirate, but I don't think he would live up to the image that his great-great-great-grandfather would have wanted. But that's neither here nor there. Let's see, what else do we have? So he drives into, buttfuck Mississippi. Through the restaurant's front window, I saw Dakota park. Checked her makeup in the rearview mirror. She came inside with a big smile. I saw her before she saw me. I was awed by her poise and the bravery it took to meet a middle-aged white man and his French husband on her own. Yes, because that takes a lot of bravery in 2025, sir. Okay, Okay, and it goes on like this, and on. Okay, he goes on this whole genealogical, brouhaha. Until Jacinto Lebrano had given up piracy to run his sugar plantation and profit from human slavery, he was a thief, an outlaw, and an outcast. It was astonishing to see how much storytelling, including his obituaries and my family's mythology, had tempered Jacinto's ignominious biography into that of an eminent local grandee. Again, I like the fact that, the slavery is what offends him the most. Not like, the piracy and, the thievery and, murder. Obviously, none of these things are good. Obviously, slavery is not good, but neither is piracy for that matter. Okay. So basically, we left New Orleans. They stopped to eat lunch at a roadside picnic table. He starts crying while unwrapping a sandwich. He feels exhaustion, happiness, relief, and very, very deep shame. I was seeking atonement. I had failed. There could be no atonement. Okay. I mean, okay, this is fairly interesting, but I think this guy's a bit of a histrionic twat, which, again, I guess is kind of to be expected. I don't know, maybe it's silly, but I do find it greatly amusing that this guy is just stunned that, a pirate could be a bad person. You mean a pirate sold slaves? Oh, dear God. Yes, it is virtue signaling, Thomas. It absolutely is. See what else we have going on. I'm sure there's some other, idiotic, race baiting going on, because of course there is. Let's see, okay, so, speaking of, holding grudges, speaking of holding grudges about things that happened even longer ago than the Battle of New Orleans, a Twitter post by a Blake Flayton went a bit viral. Blake Flayton stands before Hadrian's Arch, or is it Trajan's Arch, Trajan's Arch, holding a passport for the state of Israel. He says, Rome, you're gone, yet we remain. I mean, it's one thing to hold grudges from 200 years ago. It's quite another thing to hold grudges from 2,000 years ago. I could never understand this. I'm Chinese. I'm not going to go to Ulaanbaatar and flip off the statue of Genghis Khan. It's really dumb. I don't know. It's not good. I can't really imagine nursing deep, venomous grudges over something that happened literally before the birth of Christ. And he's not the only person to do this. Eric Weinstein did the exact same thing in 2021, flipping the bird to the specific part of the arch that has the bas-relief of Roman soldiers looting the menorah from the Second Temple. It's pretty dumb. Thomas Boyce says, me neither. Boy, this is starting slow. I can't imagine why. I'm going to imagine it's because I had the issues with the dog. Okay, so that's the end of that. Let's see what else is going on. 1 second. Oh yeah, speaking of shenanigans involving our Semitic friends, Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports is having an absolute meltdown. He apparently, if you'll recall, a few weeks ago there was an event where somebody had some, a pretty anti-Semitic sign at a bar event that Dave Portnoy had, and he's still losing his shit about it. He's having a meltdown. So you're saying that people should be allowed to make jokes about Jews? How many people should be killed? Bear in mind that Dave Portnoy makes jokes about literally everybody else, and this is a man who literally reviews pizza places and does shitty sports commentary. Yeah, he just went off. You work for me, little bitch. You work for me. I mean, dare I say, I would probably walk away at that point from that job. I mean, well, first of all, it's Barstool Sports, so no amount of money is worth selling out your soul and your dignity for that shithole. And I still like watching Dave Portnoy and the Barstool losers running their fake little NFL combine and just losing and failing miserably at it. Remind me again why anybody listens to Dave Portnoy about anything. I mean, I've heard of Portnoy's complaint, but it's probably not this what they had in mind. I'm sure that much like Philip Roth's Portnoy, Dave Portnoy also occasionally sticks his penis into big handfuls of chopped liver, but that's a whole different issue. Thomas Boyce says it's usually just jokes. Portnoy needs to calm down. Yeah, he does. He really, really does. I mean, Dave Portnoy should go back to reviewing pizza places and being a hysterical little twat. Yeah, I don't understand why anybody listens to Barstool Sports or really listens to that whole, douchey, boobs and bacon sort of faux masculinity, which I've always hated. I've hated that kind of fake masculinity ever since, Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla used to do that crap on Comedy Central. And even though they try to deny it now, they still, that is what they did. And I hate the Barstool stuff as well. It's not good. Yeah, screw Dave Portnoy. Okay, moving on from that. See what we have going on. Yeah, it's probably not going to be a very long stream today. Let's see. Okay, going on in politics, American politics, I should say. the bizarre and strange rehabilitation of George W. Bush continues unabated. From the Maine Wonk on June 2nd, nearly 14 years ago, former President Bush warned about the rising tide of isolationism and nativism on the right. And alas, here we are. Oh, we should have listened to George W. Bush. He was such a good man. No, you can shut up. We should not be listening to George W. Bush. Nobody should ever listen to George W. Bush. I mean, yeah, okay, sure, George W. Bush, launched 2 very bloody wars that killed thousands of people and wasted money for literally nothing. And he also artificially jacked up the housing market, directly leading to the 2008 recession. And he put the Patriot Act into effect, which spied on American citizens. But, thank God he didn't give in to those, those isolationist nativists. I mean, I'm sorry, can we... Look, I know the shitlibs have their Trump derangement syndrome, where everything has to be compared to Trump, Trump who was literally Hitler. But can we please stop pretending like everybody liked George W. Bush? I came of age during the Bush years. Nobody liked him. We all hated him. We all hated the Patriot Act. We all hated the endless wars. We all hated the, opening up the floodgates, which the Bush family has been doing for decades, trying to tie the United States to Mexico for all time. We hated all the petty little evangelical crap he did, like putting little pasties on the titties on the Statue of Justice in the Capitol. Because, apparently he's more puritanical than people from the 1700s. I mean, Bush was... I can't really blame Bush since he was basically just a meat puppet continuing Reagan-era policies, but Bush was not good. Need I go on? The No Child Left Behind. Also need I point out that, after the 9/11 attacks, he was like, we need to have more Muslim immigration to this country. Oh, we should have listened to George... Fuck you. Okay. Thomas Boyce says, Barstool is like TMZ for jocks. I hate them. Yes, I also hate Barstool. One second, I have to talk to my beautiful wife. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry. It's just I have 2 very beautiful girls who need, the paterfamilias's attention sometimes. The dog is sleeping, and my wife just had a phone call. She's out doing a, she's out doing some business. Oh, I also missed something. Robert Leonard says Jean Lafitte sold slaves to James and Resin Boche. That's belonged to the USA's found property. Yes, they did. Sorry, going back to the American history topic. Yes, in 1808, Thomas Jefferson signed the bill banning the further importation of slaves into America. He, obviously Jefferson was a slave owner himself, but he wanted to have a, gradual and peaceful emancipation process, which unfortunately did not happen It did not happen in the South, at least. But yeah, that's a whole different story. Yeah, Jim Bowie, I'm a big fan of your knife, sir, but yes, he was a slave owner, and that should not be forgotten. I say as if I don't have a nice, 12-inch Texas Bowie in my closet right now. Thomas Boyce referring to, fake bacon and boobies masculinity said, The Man Show, remember that shit. Yeah, I was never a fan. I mean, I do, honestly, the most fun I ever had from The Man Show is just seeing Jimmy Kimmel become a neutered wuss, like, being this virtue-signaling candy ass when he was literally having, like, naked chicks jumping on trampolines on his stupid show. Yeah, I'm sorry, like, Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel have never done anything worth watching. I said it. But I digress. Thomas Boyce says, I refuse to accept that the generation raised on South Park and Family Guy got offended by anything. You would think that, and yet here we are. Thomas Boyce said George W. Bush was a neocon in disguise. I don't think there was any disguise about it. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was openly a neocon. I mean, look at who his cabinet was. He had, Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, John Ashcroft. Openly advocating for, striking first and deregulation of business. Oh, also a Jalen Escofrey subscribed. Thank you, sir. Shinseki Evans said 9/11 freaked me out, and I believe Bush initially. Yes, I mean, obviously 9/11 was a big deal. I'm going to point out that 85% of the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, so we attacked Iraq and Afghanistan because the Bush family loves them some big oil countries. And yeah, you can make damn sure this coming week I'm going to be, kind of wrapping up the school year. I'm going to, briefly talk about the war on terror, and this is going to come up. Also, just on a personal level, I don't like George W. Bush, and not for the same reasons that Hank Hill doesn't like George Bush. I never shook Bush's hand, but according to King of the Hill, he has a limp fish handshake. No, I mean, why I don't like George W. Bush on a personal level is because when he was running for governor of Texas, he literally hired a dialect coach to force himself how to speak with a Texas accent. So he could fool the people into thinking, he was down with them and he's a rancher, he's a cowboy. George W. Bush is none of those things. The Bush family is a bunch of rich wasps from Maine, which is why their dad and mom, sound like a bunch of, Ralph Lauren wearing wasps from Maine. Yeah, they also used to live in the San Francisco Bay. And, I'm sure that Jeb Bush probably faked an accent, too, when he was making his money in, Scarface-era Florida. Let's not get into how that happened. I mean, no, I don't want to say Jeb Bush committed crimes. I mean, Jeb Bush is far too much of a pussy to commit crimes, as you can see from just, any interview he's ever done. But yeah, screw George Bush. Screw the neocons. These people are insufferable. Like, guys, I know you hate Trump, but we're not rehabilitating George Bush, all right? Dare I say, I mean, it's been a while. Why don't we give isolationism a try again? I mean, people hated America a lot less back when we weren't up in everybody's business. Anyway, moving on from that. Oh, yeah, actually, it is kind of related, actually. Another crap fest that George Bush did was the No Child Left Behind law, which basically makes it so you can't expel dumbass kids for being dumbasses from school because, everybody can learn. So you just got to force kids through, give them ridiculously easy work, and just make them pass, because what matters is passing. It doesn't matter whether or not the kids can actually read or do math or anything. I mean, I can tell you this myself. Like, half the kids I teach in school can barely read. And they act like it's some, God-given revelation when I tell them to sound out the word. I'm teaching a high school freshman. This is what, 12 years of, whole word, 3-point, whatever the hell it is, learning gets you. Kids who can't read. And actually I have 2 stories about this. There are actually several threads going on the Reddits and the Twitters about the kids just being, just flipper slapping morons. Not only can they not read, they also seem to have just no motor skills at all. Now, I fully take credit for the term flipper slapping. It used to be turkey slapping, but then a kid, asked me what that was, and I realized, oh God, this is a terrible idea. So, this is a term that I invented during my music lessons. When I teach the children how to play guitar or piano or whatever, I notice that some kids they don't have really basic motor control, like just to move their fingers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll be like, okay, little Bobby, I want you to put your thumb on, middle C, and put each finger on a key and just go dit, 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 dit. Very easy, right? Apparently, this is difficult for some children. They just go, bleh, they just slap their hands on the keyboard. Like, they can't do it. They can't just move one finger, then the next finger, then the next finger, then the next finger, the next finger. Thumb, index, middle, ring, pinky. Pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb. It's not very hard, and yet some of them just kind of spastically flap their hands at the keyboard, and they get a bit upset when, I have to gently correct them. Hence the name flipper slapping. It's like they don't have fingers. They're just sort of flailing like they're seal flippers at the keyboard and just hoping for the best. Anyway, yeah, so on Reddit teachers, people are starting to notice this same phenomenon. And I quote, "What has happened to our children? Just smile and nod, y'all." Yeah, can I just say, I really hate when, people who are not from the South use the term y'all. It just seems so smug and, hypocritical. But I digress. "We had field day yesterday," so says this person, Dangerous Links 3197 on Reddit. "I teach kindergarten, so I normally don't see the skills of the 4th or 5th graders. It was very eye-opening to see what kind of skills our older kids are lacking. Not our older kids, A-R-E, are lacking." Yes, this person is an elementary school teacher and they don't know the difference between our and our. But I digress. It's just the blind leading the stupid. Anyway, we had a dunk tank. The amount of 4th and 5th graders who could not throw a ball at a target was shocking. Okay. Having a ball in their hands trying to throw was like having this newly invented, no one knows how to use it, object placed in their hands. I would say a good 90% of the kids couldn't even get the ball to go past a foot when thrown. I can't even say they threw the ball. They just kind of pushed it downwards. I mean, some adults do that. I mean, I'm not going to point fingers at certain people who can't throw a ball. 50 Cent, but hey, I mean, at least when he threw out that first pitch at the Mets game, at least it kind of, went a good distance, just went about 20 feet outside. Just a bit outside. Carly Rae Jepsen, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, she basically just threw the ball down at her feet, as did Ms. Texas 2012. I don't remember her name. But, okay, yeah, I'm going to say some people, they can't throw a ball, but apparently 90% of the kids can't throw a ball. That's upsetting. Speaking of ball throwing, I'm slightly embarrassed to admit this, but I never knew how to properly throw a football until a few weeks ago. Just because I never really played football. But yeah, I obtained the football by more or less legal means. Watched a few YouTube videos, and then I practiced, and now I can throw a perfect spiral. The point I'm trying to make is, children, you're on the internet, you're on TikTok. I'm sure you could learn how to throw a ball properly. Anyway, another teacher. Every year I have to review how to hold a pencil. I teach middle school. Many students just make a fist around the pencil and use their whole arm to just kind of scrawl. So says another teacher. Do they break the pencils as soon as you give it to them? Miss Simpson, I killed my pencil. You have to give one to them because they never have their own, and if by chance they did, they probably destroyed it. They're so destructive, it makes my head want to explode. So says another person, Bacon Pancakes 77. The wanton destruction of class supplies, breaking pencil after pencil, cutting glue sticks, tearing up the class tissue box, drives me up the wall. This year's class of kindergartners does this more than any group ever. It's infuriating. I spent all year trying to fix it and I failed. One kid looked me dead in the eyes and ate my crayons. It's insane. No fear, no shame, crayon eating. Well, I mean, that kid has a lucrative future in the Marine Corps, but that's a whole different issue. My Chromebook just broke. No, it didn't just break. You broke it when you punched out the screen when you got second place in the quizzes. God damn. Okay. Another person goes on to something I can relate to directly. When I specifically barred them from eating food or drinks, they just couldn't help destroying pens or pencils or ripping pieces of paper all over the desk and floor. Garbage literally just materializes out of their pockets and backpacks. They never thought twice about it. It's noticeable with certain groups of students, and every teacher experiences it. The specific groups are not mentioned. I'll just leave that landmine alone. Parents never taught them to keep their hands to themselves, or that you don't leave a room worse than you found it. Yes, a lot of parents are absolute dog shit. Oh boy, every so often I hear rumors about a bill that'll allow teachers to hit their students. Oh, for the love of God, just let me be allowed to just give a 1-2 punch to a student. I'll get this one sorted out real quick. What says, how about rehabilitating Ashita Kim? What's going on with Ashita Kim? Shinseki Evans says, I'd like to know the regions these teachers are teaching in. It doesn't specify, but I can think of a few places that would be shit to teach. And not just because where I teach is pretty shitty. So yeah, I'd like to stress to my more conservative listeners that the teachers are not really the problem. The teachers are, we're trying our best. It's the administrators. It's the, shitlib administrators who have never been in a classroom, who just assume that if you just softball, feral brappies, they'll just magically behave themselves. They will not. Yeah, unlike that first teacher, most of the teachers can at least differentiate between our and our and your and your. So that's good. Yeah, we gotta... And the shame is, like, at my school, there's a lot of just shit-ass kids, but some of them do want to learn. And I really wish we could, kick out the shit-asses and have the kids who want to learn. But unfortunately, that would, hurt people's feelings. And, yeah. I should also... I should also point out that, like, most people really, not most, but I would say a lot of people, it's really no point in educating them beyond, like, 8th grade. Like, we got to bring back, like, apprenticeships or, like, you know, getting teenagers in the workforce. Because if you're some feral brappy, like, maybe a good, you know, manual labor job, you know, well paid and well compensated and unionized, of course, that'll probably do you a lot of good. It'll do you more good than, you know, sitting in a classroom learning things you don't understand and don't even try to understand. And yes, I'm aware that a brappy probably wouldn't even have the discipline to become a pipe fitter or an electrician or anything. So, you know, I actually did a video on this a while ago. The academic kids can go to college placement, you know, prep schools. The, you know, skilled with their hands but not academic kids can go to a trade school to learn a proper trade. And the brappies could be sent to a big airplane hangar where they can just, you know, show off their shoes and punch each other in the face, and hopefully they'll all kill each other. Whoops, I shouldn't have said that part. C-Punk Messiah says it would be nice to separate the chaff from the grain. Yeah, it would. Oh, well, don't you know you can eat the chaff, too? I mean, you can, but it's inferior to the grain. Hey, speaking of the kids not being able to read, the Slotus, Usha Vance, and boy, that's going to be a hell of a thing for a dyslexic to read. She discusses her summer reading challenge. Children who read 12 books this summer will be sent a prize and be entered into a drawing to visit the White House. All you have to do is read 12 books, and you can go to the White House. Jeez, I would have crushed this when I was a kid. I need to read just 12 books. I know, is there like a minimum page requirement that you need to do this, Usha? Please tell me, because otherwise you're going to get some people gaming the system. From A apple to Z zebra, baby's first pop-up book is 26 pages of alphabetic adventures. I mean, this is I mean, hey, this is what it takes to get the kids to read. So be it. You know, bribing them to, you know, read. You know, Pizza Hut used to do that Book It program, where if you read a certain amount of books and you could prove that you did so, you get free pizza. I guess they're not doing that anymore. You know, it would also help that, it would also help if the kids weren't given absolute horse shit to read. And, hey, you can even have book maymays on the TikToks or whatever. You know, say what you will about the book talk girlies reading their fairy porn. At least, you know, it does sort of engage them to read by, you can join in on the memes and stuff. You know, even the girls who just skip ahead to the smut, at least they're reading something. I mean, yeah, they're setting themselves up for disappointment when they realize that the men in their lives won't be 6'8" fairy lords with Pringles cans between their legs. But, you know, at least they're reading something, and that's good. Okay. Shinseki Evans says, I like the Japanese system where the kids compete to get into the good school and the dumb kids go to reform school. I mean, that is how it used to be in this country. You had, like, vocational schools and you had schools preparing you for college. You know, there's absolutely no shame in vocational school. There's nothing wrong at all with, you know, working with your hands and, you know, doing that for a living. You know, I don't look down upon the manual laborer. You know, I've been a grunt laborer myself. You know, they should be well compensated and well paid and unionized. But, you know, the dumb kids don't want to do that either. They just want to brap all day and just make random screaming noises at 2 in the morning. C-Punk Messiah says, imagine having an old school Kyokushin-style PE class. It would produce stronger people, that's for sure. Well, I don't know about class, but like definitely an extracurricular activity. It should be like a full contact martial art or, you know, wrestling. I mean, I think physical education should just be strictly about, building the body and making yourself strong. So I actually had a rough idea that basically this is what I would do for, gym class in this country. I would do 2 days a week of, actually, I take that. That's okay. Let me rephrase that. I would do 2 days a week of like La Sierra, calisthenics. I would do 1 day a week of like circus skills and acrobatics. 1 day a week of just cardio, and then 1 day a week you could play a team sport. It'd be fun. It would actually be educational. You would actually, get fit and learn something. It's also culturally relevant because the three-ring circus is an American invention. And yes, I'm aware of Joe Grimaldi, British listeners. Thank you. And plus, it would actually, weed out the obese alcoholics who mostly teach gym class nowadays. And, we shouldn't have health class, like, as its own thing. Like, learn that shit in biology. Sipong Messiah says, I hated all the books my English teacher assigned, but if he assigned, like, The Water Margin, I would have eaten that up. I mean, I question whether or not an American high school would be assigning, like, classical Chinese literature. But yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I like some of the books we had to read in school. We had to read, like, Shakespeare and things. That was pretty cool. Great Gatsby's okay. I would do a whole unit on Pulp Fiction, but that's a different story. And I just got to say, I hate how, your average English class in this country is basically spending the whole marking period reading one book because half the kids are dumbasses who can't read. But yeah, in a sane country, reading 12 books this summer, you should have like 500 kids going to the White House, drawn from like thousands and thousands of kids, because it's not that damn hard to read 12 books. I appreciate the sentiment, Usha. This is a good idea. It's a good idea, and she means well, but this is vastly underwhelming. Shinseki Evans says, aren't all the classics banned by the wokerati now? Well, yeah, basically. The books that read in school are absolute horseshit. I mean, even when I was in school, they were mostly crap. Okay, we're coming near the end of things. Speaking of very stupid politics, communist horseshit. A post went a bit viral. The past week or so was the anniversary of the Romanovs getting murdered by the communists. And as usual, the communist debate. Was it right to do so? So says Nikolaj at Nikikaga. I think it's an interesting case because legally the murder of the children was bad, but morally the children deserved it far more than the Tsar. How, you ask? They were smart, humble girls, including Alexei, I guess, who would have married commoners and foreigners and led undeservedly happy lives if they were spared. I'm going to repeat that. The children deserved to be murdered because if they were spared, they would have married normal people and lived happy lives. Murdering the Tsar was justified because of what he did, but murdering his teenage daughters was even more justified just because they were nice, beautiful, intelligent girls. Yeah, eat shit, Anastasia. I'm starting to agree with those people who say that all like left-wing politics is just biological resentment from like the weak, pathetic little weenies who want to take out their resentment against like the strong and beautiful people. I'm really starting to think that. I mean, the guy does refer to himself as a tanky, so it's basically him waving the "I'm a retard" flag, so, you know, you can debate that for yourself. Yeah, so says that Mr. Grow Publishing, his very famous tweet. I like to remind you all that communism is when ugly, deformed freaks make it illegal to be normal, then rob or kill all the successful people out of petty resentment and cruelty. All the ideology is just window dressing. Yeah, the Raw Egg Nationalist also did an article the other day where he analyzed Theodore Adorno's book, where he basically admits that he sees fascism in, you know, the jocks bullying him as a nerd. Yeah, what else can you say? And, you know, I'm sure this guy would also defend the molestation of the Tsarina's corpse by, oh, what the hell was the guy's name? That just piece of shit who, you know, was such a repugnant sack of crap that even Vladimir Lenin and Georgy Zhukov, like, they didn't want anything to do with him. Okay, I'm gonna look this up now. Okay, yeah, so, fun fact. Just reading the Wikipedia article here, the Romanovs and their children, and the court doctor, a lady in waiting, the groomsman, the cook, the dog, were all brutally murdered. And, then they were mutilated with acid and blown up with grenades and thrown into the woods to prevent identification. Okay, so it's not Yakov Yaroski. He was one of the executioners, but not the main one. He wasn't the one who molested the Queen's corpse. Peter Ermakov, that's who it is. That's the guy who molested the Queen's body. Who even, you know, General Zhukov was like, "Go fuck yourself." Yeah, let's see. Alpha Riga says Movie Bob isn't too abnormal after all. No, I mean, Movie Bob is... It has been said, Movie Bob is sort of the type specimen of the modern leftist. Just, you know, ugly crab, just taking out his high school bullying on the world. And that really defines his entire politics. Hey, C-Punk Messiah says, I'm trying to look at liberalism and conservatism as the yin and the yang. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, honestly. You gotta have that balance in society. Like, yeah, you need the people who push the boundaries. You need the people who kind of keep society going. Hey, C-Punk Messiah says, I would personally not berate people, but help uplift them to be strong, not be a complete wiener schnitzel about it. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely an element of that on the right wing, absolutely. Yeah, I saw a post the other day, actually more like a couple of weeks ago, where a guy was like, I hate going to the gym now because, it used to be like, alpha male jocks, and now it's just these disgusting degenerates who are hoping that maybe they can have sex if they work out. Like, oh, God forbid somebody want to improve their station in life. This is going to sound weird, but, like, the biggest sign of, like, douchebag, like, right-wing, bullying twat conservatism I've ever seen was literally, something I saw on Twitter. It was this guy saying, I always hated, Peanuts and Charlie Brown growing up. It just felt like something that, like, weak children in hospitals would read. And, I don't think I've ever seen a more pure statement of somebody just being a complete piece of shit than that. Again, it seems kind of weird that, like, reacting to pop culture flotsam makes me dub somebody like that, but yeah, just something about that really didn't sit well with me. It's not an issue of, like, not liking it or whatever. It's just an issue of, like, saying, like, this is for, like, inferior Untermenschen. Yeah, fuck you, man. You gotta entertain yourself by watching paint dry and picking up sticks. Me. Alpha Mariga says the issue with liberalism, in quotes, is the colloquial and actual definitions are antonyms. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people who call themselves liberals nowadays are basically just, communists. And I really wish they could just openly admit that. Speaking of communism, of the gay race variety, published on June 2nd, 2025, Target's 2025 Pride merchandise misses the mark. The design bosses want you to know they're ashamed of Target for not being gay enough. There's not enough rainbows. We see people wearing nice sweaters and things with a little bit of rainbow stripes. It features a lot of beige and some rainbows. Its vague rainbow-like patterns against neutral colors, they whisper pride, not speaking it. We don't whisper pride here, sir. We scream it at the top of our lungs. Okay? There was a set of birds called Gal and Pal with a moving truck, a nod to a common lesbian stereotype about quickly moving in together. It may be in poor taste to make such jokes after dismantling DEI initiatives earlier this year. Seems like they're laughing at us, not laughing with us. Lastly, but certainly worst, where's the children's items? All apparel is labeled adult, including accessories. There's no child's clothing. This coincides with, the baseless, defamatory, hateful grooming accusations against LGBT folks. 1 second. Just got a text. Okay, this article was written by a person named Bill McCool, who is in fact not very cool. Yeah, we did this whole, marketing blitz for the month of June, but it wasn't gay enough, sir. Shinseki Evan says you can't hang with me if you don't like Snoopy and Pals. Yes, I agree. I mean, yes, I find Charlie Brown's, pathetic failing at everything to be quite comical. C-Punk Messiah says Snoopy's rad as hell. Missed opportunity to have an arcade shoot 'em up as flying a Snoopy. There were actually several video games involving Snoopy as a flying ace, but that's neither here nor there. And I still consider Weapon Brown to be canon, but that's a whole different issue. But yeah, I get it if you don't like Snoopy and friends. It's one thing to not like something, but when you actively say that this is made for, like, you know, weak bullying victim children who are like terminal cancer patients in hospitals, I really gotta take a step back and ask what kind of fascist horseshit you're on, sir. Anyway, yes, that does it for my prepared remarks. See, Bung Messiah says, I stand corrected. Yeah, there's actually a few Snoopy Flying Ace video games. There was one on the Atari 2600. There was one like on the PC, like around 2008, 2009. I'm going to look this up now. So yes, there are 3 videos with Snoopy as the Flying Ace. Shinseki Evans says, did you cover the John Redcorn shooting fiasco? No, I did not. Yes. Jonathan Joss, best known for playing John Redcorn on King of the Hill, was shot and killed. Some people say it was a hate crime. Apparently he was in a relationship with a trans woman. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Somebody could inform me about that. That would be great. Vaguely related, Ian Kempster says, I think the whole pride movement is absolutely hedonistic. Your whole identity is wrapped around your sexuality and what you do behind closed doors in private. It's not anyone's business. Yeah, I mean, I don't judge people for what they do, you know, in the bedroom. But it's like Norm MacDonald said. I don't think any father's going to be really proud to say, oh, yeah, my son, you know, he's got a good job, he's a lawyer, and he loves taking cocks in the ass. So yes, that does it for my prepared remarks. Hey, Bung Messiah says he doesn't wave the flag despite being a bisexual himself to keep it out of the streets. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against gay people or lesbians or, you know, bisexual, whatever, you know, trans. You know, do whatever you want. Just don't, like... Just, you know, just have some basic decorum is all I'm saying. Shinzeki Evan says it wasn't a hate crime. Joss was an angry, crazy drug addict messed with the wrong guy. Alfreda says it's not enough anymore for thoughts to stretch out at the gym. I saw some girl crab walking on the sidewalk. Yes, some women do go to the gym just to wear, like, yoga pants that leave nothing to the imagination. And they get mad when men look at them. Obviously, I never look at them. I'm a very devoted husband, but, you know, some men do. Shinseki Evan informs us that John Redcorn's wife/husband made up the hate crime story. For a second, I thought that maybe Dale finally figured out about his son and took it out on John. Al from Riga said, I said to her, a little forward, don't you think? She asked what? I responded, your pelvic thrust in my direction. It's a little strong, don't you think? Oh my God, sir, how dare you look at her that way? Yeah, so say your last pieces now, should you desire. Alframiga says it wasn't. I'm sorry, the woman said it wasn't for you. I replied, you keep telling yourself that. I walked away, then shouted, I'm just goofy, and her friend started laughing at her so loud. You know, I do have to question, do the, you know, do women, do the super tight yoga pants that show your schniz, does it help the workout in any way? I doubt it. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for today. For Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. All of you have a good day.